Penn State fires their offensive coordinator. Let's see who Steve thinks may replace him.
We are back on the Big Mountain, where we bring you a detailed focus on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
Hey, it's great to have you back here. We're going to do a special episode here for Penn State fans. They've struggled here a little bit offensively against the two big games that they had: Ohio State, Michigan, and so we just found out here today that they fired their offensive coordinator. I want to know where you think they might be headed here, Steve. What's going on up there in Happy Valley?
Yeah. So first of all, I was at the game this week, as I'm at every Penn State home game. Overall the team played very well. When you look at the big picture, I mean, Michigan's obviously a great team. The defense, Manny Diaz's defense, played championship level football yet again. They really, especially in the first half, really hampered a Michigan team that has just been destroying people and mauling people. The run defense, they were shutting down Michigan's run game, especially that first half.
Yeah.
For most of it, they were getting after J.J. McCarthy. He was able to complete some passes. I think he was like 6 for 8 for the game, or 7 for 8, something like that.
Did not throw a pass in the second half.
Did not.
Every pass or every call was a running.
And I'll tell you that the Michigan fans, because they don't lack for confidence. So the Michigan fans will say, they didn't need to throw a pass to win. Yeah. And obviously, they won the game.
Right.
A big part of, I think, the reason why they didn't throw a pass is that every time JJ went back to throw, especially when they were back in their own zone in that Penn State student section, it was chaos for them. The noise was causing chaos. There were false starts, there were timeouts, there was miscommunications. The pass rushers, Chop Robinson was back for Penn State, and he was flying off the edge.
Yep.
He ate their right tackle for lunch and dinner. Just was blasting by him and hitting JJ pretty much every time. They did, and again, even with Harbaugh being out, Michigan has good coaches.
Oh, yeah.
They made a good adjustment. They started rolling JJ out of the pocket away from the pass rush, which was smart. But Penn State still kept after him, kept hitting him. I believe that his next to last pass attempt ended up being a pass interference call on the defense. But the previous to that, third down, Michigan needed to make a first down. It was a tight game. Penn State hit him hard yet again, and JJ walked off and was limping. Looked like he could barely walk off the field at that time. He was taking a lot of hits, especially early in that game. So anyways, that's a long way of saying Penn State's defense played really, really well.
Yep.
But yet again, their offense just could not do anything. I think they had one decent drive in the first half where then they couldn't punch it in. They got a field goal. But just 3 and out after 3 and out. The wide receivers and the quarterback don't look on the same page. There was all this anticipation this year for Drew Aller, 5-star quarterback. Yep. Finally, Penn State has their quarterback. And honestly, Mike Yurcich, the offensive coordinator, I think he did a really good job with Sean Clifford the last couple years. Really got as much out of him as possible. Had him playing really well. But for whatever reason, it just was not clicking this year with Drew Aller. So after the game this morning, the news broke that James Franklin went ahead and made that move to fire Mike Yurcich. So who are the next likely candidates?
Before you get there, can I just mention something?
Yes.
Because we've been bantering on this a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay.
But we were back and forth after the game, and I really tried not to talk about the game too much because I know how I am after my team loses. I'm really not interested in bantering with anyone. But there was some back and forth regarding, Aller and the offense and why is this and things like that. And I said right off the bat, and I know it's very easy. Let me preface this by saying it's very easy to always point to the coaching. I get that. I think that's a scapegoat far too often. But to me, I said this is the coaching because it was clear that Aller was not comfortable in certain situations. And you mentioned that they go into a play call with 2 possible plays. So they got a pass play and run play. He would either check off to the run play, or even if it was a pass, he wasn't looking downfield. He'd check it down and all that kind of stuff. And all of that is very, very true.
Yes.
I don't disagree with any of that. But as a coach, if you see your young quarterback, I don't care if this kid's a 5-star or 2-star, I don't care who he is, if you see him struggling in that regard for a half, for a quarter, for whatever, as a coach, I have to put my player in the best position to succeed.
Yeah.
Not because these are the calls I want him to try and make.
Right.
No. I need to put him in the position to succeed. And I honestly felt like, I don't want to blame the coaches, but I do want to say I don't think the coaches put Aller in the best position to succeed, given some of his, it's not so much that he can't make the plays, he's just a bit inexperienced. Certainly his confidence in those big games is lacking a little bit against the big boys. And so put him into a position where he's a little more comfortable. That's why I would say it's a coaching thing, not because they're what they are calling is bad. I just don't think they have. I didn't think they had Aller's back, if you will.
Yeah,
that's my go around on that.
So if you remember back to the Ohio State game, I was kind of unhappy with some of the game planning against Ohio State. I really thought that they should have attacked Ohio State like Rutgers did,
right?
Up front, physical, and they started doing that. Here's the thing, and I'm not going to second guess James Franklin's decision because something needs to change. He's making a change.
Yes.
Now, and I'm pretty excited. We're going to go through some candidates here, and I'm excited about the people coming in.
Okay.
But what I will say is there's 2 different Drew Allers, okay, so far. And both of them have had the same coach and the same coaching, but there's been 2 different Drew Allers.
Sure.
Last year when he came into the games, a lot of people wanted him to start over Clifford because he was a pretty darn amazing last year.
Yeah.
Comes in against Purdue on the road, the first game of the year. Clifford's in the locker room. I think they were trailing to Purdue on the road, Big Ten opener. Hits a laser down the sideline, throws another pass into traffic, just barely misses. Leads the team down for a drive. They don't end up scoring, but true freshman on the road, first game of the year, and just looked like he had all the confidence in the world and was lights out. And every time he came in last season was the same way. And there's certain games this year, Maryland and other games where you see that Drew Aller. But yes, obviously, in these 2 big games, Michigan and Ohio State, he does not look that way. He's not comfortable at all, not confident, not willing to take those risks.
Right,
And so that's the big question: is it the coaching? Is it the player? Now, if we bring in one of these awesome offensive coordinators and he continues to struggle, then we'll see. So we'll see how it goes.
You'll have your answer. So with that, who you got,
yes.
Steve? I am anxious to hear who your 3. I don't know if you have these in any order.
Yes.
Or,
so
okay.
I'm going to go with the first one. I'm going to give is my immediate, just easy, right off the bat. It's the one I texted you earlier when the news broke. 5 minutes after the news broke, we were texting back and forth about different candidates, and this is the first name I told you.
Yeah.
Joe Brady. He's a former assistant or graduate assistant at Penn State. Has some ties. His family and different things has some ties to Penn State. He's been there before. When he left Penn State, he was kind of a co-offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator down at LSU when Joe Burrow was down there. When we know what happened with them, they one of the most amazing college offenses and won that season.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow went from a guy who couldn't make the field at Ohio State to basically top 5 draft pick, national champion, smoking stogies in the, locker room after the game. So now, since that point, Joe Brady went with Matt Rule to the NFL. He was the offensive coordinator in Carolina. And we talked about Matt Rule. It just didn't work out in the NFL for him. His first scapegoat was Joe Brady the first year when they weren't doing well. He fired Joe Brady. And since then, Brady's been with the Bills. He's been a quarterback coach there. He's a quarterback coach there right now, working with another quarterback that you're very familiar with, who kind of similar to Aller. Big kid, big arm, all kinds of talent. Maybe had some confidence issues in an early part of his career, or making decisions on the fly. Joe Brady, he's got the resume. He's been an NFL offensive coordinator. He's been a college coordinator. He's worked with top flight, super talented quarterbacks. He's been at Penn State. There's a comfort level between Franklin and him. To me, that's the most obvious candidate, and I think it would be a great fit. And if Franklin made that move tomorrow, everybody would be happy. It'd be a smooth transition. The question is, Joe Brady right now, he's the quarterback coach for one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's at the top of his position. Does he want to go back to college and become an offensive coordinator, doing something he basically already did before and showed that he could do it? So we'll see on that. That would be my hire right away. And I kind of think Franklin, I know that Franklin already has his list, his little black book of candidates, and I think Joe Brady is his first call.
Okay.
Second person, Tyler Bowen. Penn State has had a great history of tight ends just in the last 10 years under James Franklin. Great tight end play. Tyler Bowen has been a big part of that. He came from Maryland. I think he was actually an offensive line coach at Maryland.
Okay.
Franklin brought him up to Penn State, worked really, really well with the tight ends, had a lot of success. Guys that he was coaching did well at the college level and took that onto the NFL level. So Tyler got hired by Urban Meyer to go to Jacksonville and be the tight ends coach there. And now he's the offensive coordinator of Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech's not lighting the world on fire. They're 5-5. However, that roster was just abysmal. They had nothing going the last couple of years on offense, and they've had enough going to he's gotten them going far enough to be just a respectable team at 5-5.
Yeah.
So he's got history with Franklin. He's got history with Penn State. There's a comfort zone there. He had time in the NFL. He has time as a play caller, and just makes a lot of sense. So to me, I think he's probably going to be the second call.
Okay.
Franklin makes.
Okay. All right.
So my third candidate, kind of a dark horse candidate. Again, somebody that we talked about when we were texting. This person was at Penn State before. Was a previous head coach. Came to be a coordinator. Went back to being a head coach again. The question is, does he come back to Penn State? Joe Moorhead.
Yeah.
Came in 2016 from Hofstra, I think it was.
Okay.
Small school, brought in an offensive system that right away, took a young Trace McSorley and Penn State to basically the heights, the highest that they've been under James Franklin.
Yeah.
He was basically the head coach of the offense, which was great for Franklin because he could focus on. There's so many things that a head coach has to focus on.
Yeah.
He has a proven track record as an offensive coordinator. Now, he hasn't done so well as a head coach. Mississippi State, he got fired after, I think, 2 years. Went to Oregon and had success again as an offensive coordinator, and has been at Akron as a head coach. He just hasn't done well at Akron. I mean, Akron's a tough place to win.
Yeah.
I don't really hold that against him. The question is, does he want to go back and do something that he's done before?
Right.
And can you rekindle that magic? If he comes back again, you're never going to get the same exact thing. Trace McSorley was a amazing player. Maybe didn't have some of the physical talents that Aller has, but he had a lot of other intangibles.
Yes.
He was a running threat, a throwing threat. He was just a gamer. He was just a guy who could take that offense. Now here's the thing is, Joe Moorhead's offense is in many ways, it's a lot like Mike Yurcich's offense. It relies on the quarterback, and Trace had trouble with this the first half of 2016. Yeah. It relies on the quarterback making those decisions, those snap decisions, reading a defender, and making those snap decisions, which Aller has had trouble with this year. You and I, we've gone back and forth, and you've said, why don't they throw the ball instead of run the ball? Or why don't they run the ball instead of throw the ball?
Right.
Well, in these type of systems, the Mike Yurcich system, the Joe Moorhead system, there's a lot of run-pass options. The quarterback is making that decision. The offensive coordinator, the coaches on the sideline are giving them 2 plays. They're supposed to read a single defender, or possibly a couple defenders, but read a defender either just before the snap or just after the snap and make a snap decision. So I think, I really think that Aller could thrive in this offense, but you're going to see, you may see some of those same issues. So I don't think Joe Moorhead's a perfect candidate. It would be fun. Let's run it back again. Let's do 2016 again. But does he want to do that? So I'm going to leave him as my dark horse candidate. But definitely Joe Brady and Tyler Bowen, my top 2 candidates. Familiarity with Penn State and with James Franklin. And it just makes sense to go that route. Do you have any questions or comments on that?
Well, I like your top 2. I do like your top 2. I think you make really good points for Brady he's at kind of the pinnacle, if you will, but that doesn't mean that's where he wants to be.
Right.
I mean, we can sit here and say you're at the pinnacle of the sport and you're working with a great quarterback in the NFL and da. That doesn't mean that's where he wants to be.
Right.
So, you don't know what the intangibles are there to have him potentially come to Penn State. I agree with you. I think it'd be a great fit. I think Moorhead, to me, typically when somebody comes back to try and rekindle magic,
doesn't work out like it did.
The kindling never fires back up, you know. So I'd be hesitant on that. I get what you're saying there. It usually rarely works out that it you can come back and have a second really good run. Again, maybe not exactly like the first, but a good run. It's usually a crash and burn scenario type of thing. So especially if he's going to run it the same way that what they've had. If you're making this change for a change, let's make a change, right? Like not just a figurehead, but like how are we going to change this offense? So, but yeah, I like your top two there with Brady and with Bowen, I think, and clearly maybe sitting here just listening to everything you have to say, I would say you're number two there, Bowen. It probably would be a step up. Well, not probably. It's going to be a step up from going from Virginia Tech to Penn State. But you don't know where these guys are at, in terms of comfortability in their situation. So I like all three names. I'd be more towards the 1 and 2. I know you're very clear that Moorhead's a dark horse. I get that. But I like your 1 and 2 there for sure.
I'm really interested in our viewers. If you have comments, do you think, I said Joe Moorhead was my dark horse candidate. Do you out there, do you guys think that we could run it back again? Do you think it's possible? Is it crazy? I'm really interested to see if we get any comments on that.
Awesome. And give us some other comments. Throw some names out there. We could sit here and probably talk 10, 15, 20 names if we really wanted to. But, Steve wanted to narrow it down to 3. If you think there's a clear number 1 or number 2 out there, throw some names out there. Maybe we can do a reaction video once one is named and the pros and cons on that. But we want to get this out there. We talked a little bit in the last video about Boise State making a head coaching change midseason. Both schools having really good records. I get Penn State didn't get where they wanted to get with at least one win out of the Michigan-Ohio State thing. Still awkward-ish to do that.
The timing was again strange with 2 games left in the go.
Exactly.
Season,
So anywho, hey, we thank you for watching. We're going to drop another pick episode on Thursday morning. So if you're into hearing picks for the Big Ten and the Mountain West, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.